Since fortune favors the brave. 40 years, 10 months, and 19 days after Longview. Fortes fortuna juvat. Latin proverb. One of the civil guard's informants over the road was Mike Sweeney's cousin, who was ideally placed because she worked as the night dispatcher in the sheriff's office. So Lieutenant Bobby Campbell knew about what had happened with Johnny Selkirk by 8:30 p.m. that night. He was back at the guard station in Basin by 9, having called his entire complement back on duty, consisting of 8 men and 1 female officer. They all gathered in the station's small operations center, where he ordered Sergeant Boardman to start distributing field gear and weapons. "Can your cousin let us know when they leave to take Selkirk to Billings?" he asked Sweeney. "They're not driving, apparently," replied Sweeney. Roxy said the FBI agents have called for a helicopter from Billings to transport him to the detention center there. The feds have a special wing in the jail for their prisoners. "Can she give us any ETA on the chopper?" The corporal shrugged. "Maybe, but Ben Lomax suspects she's on our pad. Hell, he knows it. He doesn't fire her because he's known Roxy since she was a baby. She's a good dispatcher, Jefferson. County doesn't pay chicken feed to its employees, and he knows she needs the extra money. Besides, he figures if he canned her, we just recruit somebody else in his office he doesn't know about." "How do you know all this?" asked Bobby. "Ben told her so," replied Sweeney. "But he also told her that if something big happened that might mean real trouble, she was to keep quiet to us about it or she'd lose her job. I think Roxy gave me that one call because she likes Johnny. And she's his cousin too, a third cousin, I think. Don't know if she likes him enough to lose her job and pension over him, though. She may give me another call tonight. On the other hand, she may not." "Nuts," said Bobby. "How long do you think it will take for those people in Billings to scramble a chopper and make it to Boulder?" "They may already be in the air, sir." Bobby scowled. "All right, we've got to get over there, extract John, and get him back on our side of the road before that copter gets into the air on the return trip. Once he gets out of the county and they get him into a cell in Billings, this is no longer a local hiccup. It's a full-fledged incident of the kind that could snowball into something really serious. The Republic has a policy: we are not subject to the laws of the United States. Americans don't arrest us or put us in their prisons with mud people. They did enough of that evil mess before the War of Independence. We haven't always been able to enforce that down through the years when our citizens have gotten into trouble, but this is close enough where we can do something about it, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let the stinking FBI, who shouldn't even be over there, take a Northwest citizen from my patch away into the interior somewhere and bury him with niggers. Even if he did get himself caught like an idiot, because he was thinking with his third leg instead of his brain. I haven't actually been over into Boulder for obvious reasons, but I assume some of you guys have spent some time over there. Is there any place near the jail where they could land a helicopter, a helipad on the roof or something like that?" "No, sir," replied Boardman. "They'll have to land at the airport, and those Phoebes will have to drive him down there." "How far is the airport from the sheriff's office?" asked Bobby. "Show me on the map," commanded Bobby. He followed Boardman's finger on the wall. "The sheriff's office is on South Washington Street, and the jail is in the back," said the sergeant. "It's not very big, maybe 7 or 8 cells. If they go straight to the airport, they'll take 69 South, this way, turn right on Little Boulder Road, left on North Whitetail Road, and then there they are." "We'll have to intercept them once they get off 69, said Bobby. "Any place we can set up an ambush along there?" "I'd say our best bet would be either when they turn onto Little Boulder Road off the main highway, or turn off Little Boulder onto Whitetail," said Sweeney, pointing. "They'll have to slow down a bit when they turn." "We figuring on only one car?" "Depends on whether or not Lomax is helping the FBI and gives them an escort," said Bobby. "If it's just those 2 droids and their toy soldier, that's one thing. If there's local deputies and the sheriff himself present, that's going to ratchet things up. Our intel says Lomax has 12 full-time deputies and about 20 part-timers. We've got 9 men. Sorry, Tasha, I have to leave somebody here to answer the phone." "I did my national service in the Amazon, sir," said guardswoman Tasha Briggs in a sour voice. "Yes, ma'am, I know, but you're also the mother of 2 boys and a girl, and I'm not risking their mother getting killed or captured in an international incident. Sorry, Tash, old-fashioned chivalry wins out tonight. Corporal Sweeney, you seem to know the most about the ins and outs of things in American Jefferson. How much help do you think Lomax will give the Phoebes, knowing as he does the bad blood it's going to cause between his side of the road and ours?" Honest to God, sir, I just don't know, Sweeney told them. Yeah, Ben has always tried to keep everything damped down and mellow, and he's bent a lot of his own kind's rules to do it, but he has to balance that with staying on the right side of Governor Wellman and that scurvy crew in Billings. Plus, he has to get re-elected every 4 years. He has his own red lines, and he doesn't like the Selkirks. John does have a tendency to show his butt a bit when he's cruising through their side. On the way back from a run, Ben doesn't want a war with the Republic on his turf, but he won't back down beyond a certain point. What that point is, I don't know. We may find out tonight. It would sure help if we had more intel, said Bobby. I know what you said about your cousin, but we're going in almost blind. I'll lay out a plan, but while I'm doing it, you need to go up to my office and make some calls to some of our other ears over there and see if they can be of any help. Got it, boss. Bobby turned back to the map. This is going to be tricky. We're trying to intercept at least one vehicle, but maybe more, facing we don't know how many armed opponents, along a route we're not sure of and where we're going to have to deploy in the dark on unfamiliar terrain. Plus, we don't even have any real time frame to work with. The only thing we know right now is that our hostage is now in a holding cell in the sheriff's office, or maybe back in the jail section itself. Add to that an almost overriding political consideration demanding that we keep local Jefferson County casualties to a bare minimum, or better yet, to zero. I'd really like to hit that jail directly, as fast as possible, within the next hour, since that's the only place we can be sure of Johnny's location. But there's no way in hell we can storm a defensive position like that when we don't even know the layout, against an unknown number of hostiles, when we've got only 9 men. 36, said a voice in the doorway. Bobby looked up and saw former NVA Captain Ray Selkirk standing in the doorway. He was wearing a set of obsolete old-pattern NDF tiger stripe camos from the War of Independence, topped with a battered and stained slouch hat that looked like it had been trampled by buffaloes. His armament was a bit antiquated as well, with a Browning 10mm automatic on his hip and a U.S. Marine Kabar knife on his web belt, while slung over his shoulder was an older model X3 rifle, probably from the 7 Weeks' War. Virtually every household in the Republic had 1 or 2 of those lying around since they had been superseded by the X4, and the NDF had plumped their budget by selling off the 3s as surplus. You got 36 men now. Well, 33 men and 3 women to be accurate, Selkirk announced. That's if you want to throw in with us. Otherwise, me and the family's going over there to get John on our own. Bobby walked down the short hall and opened the door. Under the lights outside, he saw a long caravan of trucks and cars filling the street, some levitational and some ordinary ground vehicles, and a large party of people standing along the sidewalk. They were dressed in various bits and pieces of NDF surplus, jeans and work clothes, mostly broad-brimmed headgear, and in one case a young man in a tracksuit. All of them were packing heavy, mostly their NDF reservists' military weapons, although there were 1 or 2 Winchesters and civilian model hunting rifles with telescopic sights. 3 men in the back of the pickup truck had a bipod-mounted splat gun resting on the roof of the cab. What kind of ammo have you got for the splat gun? Asked Bobby. Anti-personnel, he and both red and white phosphorus incendiaries, Selkirk told him. A case of each, which is SOP reserve requirement. That's my second oldest son, Ned, his boy Farron, and Farron's friend, Sam Cowley. They crew the weapon in their reserve unit, 4th Battalion, 84th Regiment, so they know what they're doing. We've also got a couple of my nephews down there who are Crackerjack Rifle Grenadiers, and they brought their chunkers.
You planning on getting John out of jail or slaughtering half of Boulder?
Asked Bobby. Whatever it takes, said Selkirk. They're sending a copter to take him to Billings, said Bobby. I figured. That's why we don't have time to turn this into a long debate about law and jurisdiction and whose job it is to do what, said Selkirk. We're going over, with you or without you. Might actually be better if we went without. Look, son, I know this could blow up in our faces. I don't think it could cause another war because they don't have anything to fight with anymore, and they've got so many troubles of their own they can't afford to sweat a little thing like this. But it's not a little thing to us. If they get that young fool of a grandson of mine out of here to Billings, then we're going to have to go after him in Billings. And that's going to start all kinds of bad balls rolling for this part of the world. If they get him out of Billings and into some prison, factory where we can't get to him at all, Or more likely, if he dies in custody, then that's going to reopen all the old wounds. Anybody on their side of the road who assisted is going to be in our bad books, and I can't guarantee that all the tit-for-tat shit won't start up again along the border here. We've all had enough of that, and things have been quiet for a long time, but then that she Boone and her American gun thugs had to come in here and start, swaggering around like they were somebody and they meant something, shoving people around like none of the past 40 years ever happened. Now they've taken a member of my family. That ain't gonna happen. But we're just ordinary folks. You and your boys are Northwest cops, and if you come over the road with us tonight, the government of the Republic will be implicated, and that will take this mess to a lot higher level. I know it, said Bobby. The trouble is that as representatives of the NAR, we are involved, because one of our own has been seized and subjected to the authority of the United States of America again. And that is something we will not tolerate. I know you're the last man I should be lecturing on the whys and wherefores of the revolution, sir, but we were taught in our history and moral philosophy classes in school, in the army, and then again in the Civil Guard training course, that the reason this country exists is not only to provide a homeland for all the world's Aryan peoples, but insofar as we can to provide protection for whites against those who want us to disappear from the face of the earth. That was the whole crux of that incident with Admiral Leach in the Spokane down in New Zealand a while back, remember? You're talking about the Morehouse Doctrine, commented Selkirk. Yes, exactly, agreed Bobby. A white man is in danger from the well-defined. I have the resources to at least attempt to do something about it, and I can't sit idly by. But sir, with all due respect, if we go together, then it's my party and I'm in charge, precisely because I do have official rank and standing. This needs to be done as an official act of the Republic, to show the world the price of assault and insult, not some act of old-style vigilantism. That being said, I'd appreciate your experience and expert advice. We'll just call you a consultant. Fair enough, replied Selkirk with a chuckle. I agree, this should be an official act. Personally, I think when we went over there 28 years ago, we should have stayed, and gone on to Billings and Bozeman and run their asses out of there too, and kept it all. No offense, son, but do you intend to call your dad and that uncle of yours with the trench coat and let them know what's going on? No, said Bobby, who had been kicking around the idea but decided against it. I'm just a guard lieutenant, but my father is the commander of the entire border district, and my uncle is a senior state security officer. If this goes south, they may need some plausible deniability. I know all your relatives there will be reservists, but anybody special who could make themselves useful? They're not just relatives. We do have a few friends, you know, said Selkirk. He pointed to an old man of almost his own age. Dave Evans was with me in the regulators. He's not quite spry enough for the field these days, arthritis, and his eyes ain't what they used to be. But he can do anything else that needs doing. Everybody over about the age of 45 was in the 7 weeks. Reserve officers and specialists. Myself, of course, then there's Dave, and my son Ray Jr., who's also Johnny's father. My third son, Joe Lee, is a warrant officer in the engineers, so he knows how to blow stuff up real good. Finally, over there's my great-nephew Cullen, who's a color sergeant in the SS. He happened to be home on leave tonight at the house when the call came in. Bring him in with us, said Bobby. We need to get a move on. When they got inside, Bobby addressed the group. Right, guys, looks like we're going to have a little more manpower than we thought at first. We now have enough personnel to attempt an extraction from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Facility with some hope of success, but we are still desperately short of intel as to who's doing what over there. I have Corporal Sweeney upstairs trying to locate somebody who is willing to go into town and keep an eye on things for us, either for payment or to try and avert bloodshed on our part of the border tonight and in the future, but I don't think he's had any luck so far. By the way, how did you find out about your grandson's capture, Captain Selkirk? Danielle Tolliver called me. She was there when it happened. Ah, do you think she would be willing to help us further by giving us intel from on the ground? Farm and ranch families go to bed early, said Selkirk. She said she'd wait until everybody was in bed, then see if she could lift the keys to one of their trucks and come into town. If that old bastard Elwood Tolliver hears her leave, he'll figure out what she's up to and he'll come after her. So he'll probably be running around over there as well. All right, we need to get on with this, said Bobby. He diddled one of the operations room's computers and a large blueprint appeared on the wall. This is the schematic we have for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. We need to know whether John Selkirk is being held in the actual jail itself or in one of 2 holding cells in the processing area, what they used to call the bullpen, I believe, because that will affect our entry. If he's in the bullpen, it's quickest to just bust through the front door and walk right in. If he's in the detention section itself, then there is a short corridor with heavy steel security doors at both ends. If one of them shuts those doors on us, then we're not getting through without blasting, and maybe killing or injuring anyone who's in the jail wing, including young Selkirk. I've shot my way both in and out of that jail a few times in the past, said old man Selkirk. Yeah, I know, it was 40 years ago, back before the Pattis took over the developmental center on Main Street and turned that into their main barracks and lockup, and the county may have renovated or changed things, but there used to be a kind of shipping and receiving area in the back here, with a small parking lot. They had cameras on it in those days, but one of the first things the NVA did when we entered an operational area was cruise around at night with some 22s and infrared sights, and take out all the spy cameras we could find, everywhere from convenience stores to government parking lots. Don't know if they ever put the cameras back in after the First War. They did, Captain, but they don't have any inside monitors, said Sweeney, who had come back downstairs. The ones they had broke years ago, and nobody ever got around appropriating the budget to fix them. One of our contacts over there tells us they record, but you have to take the memory stick out and plug it into a monitor to see what's on it. That's Americans all over. They waste untold wealth on things they don't need, yet they won't spend a few pennies for the things they do need, snorted Selkirk. If we could get into the building that way without being detected, then there is a stairwell along this wall here that goes right up into the jail section, he went on, pointing. Only one steel door, and it's not as thick and strong as the ones going in and out of the main office. This place was built almost 100 years ago, remember, and it was meant to be a holding facility for drunks, petty criminals, and the occasional chicken thief and stock rustler, not Alcatraz. It never held any of us volunteers worth a damn, which is why the Patties built their own dungeon over there on Main. Colin Selkirk from the SS spoke up. Lieutenant, if the door is still like Pop described it to me, I have some plastique I can rig that will blow it off its hinges without too much concussion or injury to people inside. We still need to find out if they've bothered to take John back into the jail itself, or if they were just cooling his heels. In one of those little bullpen cages until the copter lands out at the airport, said Bobby. Any luck, Mike? Roxy isn't answering, which I take to mean she likes her job too much, or else she's scared this thing might escalate into bloodshed, said Corporal Sweeney. I found a couple of guys who are willing to scout for us, but they're way out in the county or in American Butte, and it will take them time to get down to Boulder. Couple of hours, maybe. Give me one of our cars and let me go over there and set up an observation post, offered Cullen Selkirk. I can get up onto the roof of the high school and watch the place with infrared field glasses. Too dangerous, Cull, said Selkirk, shaking his head. They don't know you over there, and those who do know that you're one of ours, and you got no business being anywhere in Boulder at night. Never mind up on the roof of Jefferson High with a pair of night vision glasses. I agree, Color Sergeant, said Bobby. If Sheriff Lomax is giving the FBI his active support in this little project, then he'll have all his men out patrolling and watching for a rescue attempt. Is Lomax backing their play on this or not? Asked Ray. We don't know, said Bobby, shaking his head. It seems clear that grabbing John was just something these FBI agents did off their own bat in an effort to recover that stupid nigger's luxury sedan she left over here when she came visiting, and so I doubt the sheriff is best pleased. But legally speaking, he is still obliged to render all due assistance to federal law enforcement, blah, blah, blah. A lot is going to depend on how much assistance he feels obliged to render them. In fact, what we really need is for somebody to get inside the sheriff's office and check things out visually, which is what I had Danny Tolliver in mind for, as reluctant as I am to place a teenage girl at risk. But she's the only one we've got on our team, or apparently on our team, who can just walk into the cop shop over there. Once we can determine John's exact location, we'll have to wing it. If we can't get a 20 on him, we may have to hit them from two sides at once. We had to do it like that once back in the day, said Selkirk. How did you do that? Asked Bobby. Would a replay work? Anybody around who might remember it and warn Lomax how to get ready for it? Elwood Tolliver is all, said Selkirk. Anyway, here's my suggestion. being your consultant and all, young fellow. First off, we don't all cross the road in one big convoy. That's how Jack Smith fucked up in Helena that time. We have to assume Lomax is waiting for us, or they've got that British merc advising them who presumably has at least some idea of what he's doing tactically. None of us should enter Boulder via Depot Hill Road. That turns into 2nd Avenue. That's the way they'll be expecting us to come. We need to divide into 2 sections. One of us crosses over the border highway onto Cattle Drive Road, here, about a mile west of town. There's no road crossing at that point on the map, said Bobby. It's there, trust me, said Selkirk. The other section needs to cross to the north of the town, over onto Frontage Road at mile marker 164. Yeah, I know, it's not on the map either. There used to be an interstate exit there. The PADIS blocked it off back in the day because they wanted to be able to control entrance and exit onto the interstate with as little manpower as they had. But we unofficially reopened it. Never mind, Cullen or Ned can show you. Let's say my group goes over onto Cattle Drive Road, and your section crosses at 164 onto Frontage. So we go into town down North Main Street, and you enter up South Main Street at the same time? Asked Bobby. Even this late at night, won't somebody see us? And if Sheriff Lomax has got his deputies out patrolling and watching for any company coming, we'll damn sure be detected. I know, that's why both sections avoid Main Street, said Selkirk. Your group needs to get here, to Faith Lutheran Church on 3rd Avenue, and my people need to get to Boulder Elementary School, also on 3rd. Don't worry, there won't be any kids around this time of night, and both of them have parking lots for our vehicles facing 3rd, with buildings between them and the sheriff's office for concealment. We park, leave a couple of vehicle guards, then approach the sheriff's station from the east and west sides of the building. It's mostly offices and storefronts along South Washington, so shouldn't be too many people looking out their windows at this time of night. Then what? Asked Bobby. If there is any way at all somebody of ours can get eyes on Johnny and see whether he's in a jail cell or a squad room cage, that's the way we go in. If not, on my apologies, Lieutenant, on your signal, I suggest we go in from both ends, as quickly and quietly as possible until somebody kicks up a fuss. Your party through the front door, my team through the rear entrance and up the stairs into the jail wing, presuming it's still there. Bobby spoke up. We'll take our police hand rams to break down any locked doors. I don't like this. Insufficient planning, poor intel, and time constraints. But if we don't get moving right now, that damned helicopter may beat us to Johnny. All right, everybody get this, and... Captain Selkirk, you make sure your Klansmen out there get it. This is a hostage rescue, not a retaliatory strike or an NVA tickle. Our object is to recover your grandson and bring him home, but it is almost as important that we do it while inflicting as few casualties as possible on the residents of Boulder, Montana, and that includes Ben Lomax and his deputies. The FBI agents and their new model army buddy and that plug-ugly negress who defiled our door the other day are all fair game. You want revenge? Shoot them if you can, but unless you have no choice, don't hurt any of the locals. I'd rather not start something tonight. Everybody around here is still going to be dealing with another 40 years from now. Let's go. It took about half an hour for the 2 Northwest war parties to slip across the border highway and roll as quietly as they could into place at their respective staging areas in front of the church and the school. It was almost 10 p.m. when they began moving into whatever cover they could find around the rear of the sheriff's station, slipping across South Washington Street to conceal themselves behind fences and trees and whatever offered any concealment from the front. Bobby was worried someone would see them and raise the alarm or even fire a shot, but the small-town stereotypes about rolling up the sidewalks at night seemed to fit Boulder to a T. At 10 o'clock on a chilly night with autumn coming on, there didn't seem to be anybody around. It occurred to Bobby that most people were probably already in bed by now. Bobby and Ray Selkirk used their phones for communication. You see anybody posted on sentry duty out back? Bobby asked old Ray. He kept his voice low. That's negatory, replied Selkirk. You? Negative as well, Bobby told him. I can't see anybody on the roof. Me neither. Sweeney tells me he just got a call from his cousin Roxy, and Lomax sent her home for the evening to get her away from temptation, as he put it, so that's one potential source of intel gone. Did you get hold of the girl? We need to get some eyes inside that cop shop, asked Bobby. I did, confirmed old Ray. I explained what we needed, and I gave her my word that if she couldn't help us, there would be no protest and no bad blood. because I understood I was asking her to go against her own family and upbringing, and it was something I had no right to do. She agreed to try. She's using some cheap phone she got from a vending machine, so I can't conference her in with you, but she took the family car and hid the keys of the other vehicles, so that will slow down any pursuit. She's about 2 minutes out. She's going to try to get in to see Johnny, and she'll call me with whatever she can find out. She says once we get him, she wants to come back home with us, added old Selkirk. Bobby frowned. Captain, I wonder, does this kid know what she's doing, or is she just some teenaged flake who thinks she's having a romantic adventure? She sounds to me like she understands, replied Selkirk. The Tollivers never were regular American bozos and flakes. They were just dumb as a bag of hammers when it came to race and politics. Can you see any sign of life in there at all? Asked Bobby, examining the lit but closed window blinds of the station with his night vision, unable even to detect any movement inside. Couple of deputies just came out back and lit up cigarettes, said Selkirk. I thought when the Americans unbanned tobacco, they also stopped forcing people outside to smoke. A large older model Celestial, a station wagon of Chinese manufacture, pulled up to the front of the sheriff's office beside the squad cars. Hang on, this must be Danielle, said Bobby. He watched as a small figure in a shepherd's coat got out of the vehicle and marched inside with a determined stride. Hope they don't decide to arrest her and put her in a cell, too. Danny, in fact, walked right into the bullpen in the middle of an argument between Sheriff Ben Lomax and Monty Sanderson on the one hand, and Gabrielle Martine and Special Agent Mona James on the other. The small group was being observed by almost half a dozen Jefferson County Sheriff's deputies who leaned on desks or walls around the coffee pot, watching with interest. I don't care if your colleagues in Billings can't or won't keep their helicopters operational, Lomax was, snarling at the two women of color. I want this prisoner the hell out of here tonight, and if that means you have to drive him all the way to Billings yourselves in that damned Lexus, then do it. You're not leaving him here for another 24 hours, while some bureaucrat in Billings okays servicing the chopper and signs the voucher or whatever the problem is. Once word gets out that he's here, we're going to have an armed gang of his relatives coming over here to try and break him out, or maybe a full-scale commando raid by their military, and there will be a bloodbath right here in my station house. All because you wanted your goddamned car back, which you shouldn't have lost because you should never have set foot over there in the first place, rumbled Sanderson angrily. He's your caller, and he's your responsibility, federal jurisdiction, as you keep reminding me, Lomax went on, so you need to get him out of here and do whatever the hell you're going to do with him. But I'm not sending any of my own men with you. I'm going to need all of them here to deal with the consequences of what you've done. Sheriff, we don't need to ask your permission to apprehend a federal felon in your county, explained Mona James, trying to be reasonable and calming. It's true that advance notification is customary, but not required when time is a factor. Your attitude has been noted, Sheriff, whined Gabby Martine. Oh yes, it's been noted. Note away, ma'am, said Lomax. I don't give a damn anymore. I didn't know you spoke chimpanzee, Ben, said Johnny Selkirk, who was leaning lazily against the bars in one of the small bullpen holding cells. Shut up, Johnny, snapped Lomax. FBI agent Earl Hornbuckle leaned over and jabbed Johnny through the bars with an electric cattle prod he'd gotten from somewhere. Selkirk shouted and swore and tried to grab the prod even while he was doubled up. But Hornbuckle jabbed at him swiftly and repeatedly between the bars. Danny screamed and ran toward the cell. Lomax turned, his face furious. He jumped forward, grabbed the cattle prod out of Hornbuckle's hand and threw it across the room. Do that one more time and I'll ram that thing up your ass, he roared at Hornbuckle. But you just admitted he's our prisoner, in our custody, federal jurisdiction, protested Hornbuckle sullenly. He's in my jail now, much as I don't want him to be, and I'm not allowing you FBI shitheads to torture prisoners in my custody, Lomax replied coldly. This isn't 40 years ago, and you no longer have an army of fatpo goons you can use to threaten local law enforcement officers into knuckling under. He turned back to Mona James. Get him out here now, he told her. Use your own car, not one of the counties, and get your asses on the road to Billings right now, or I'm letting him go. Like fuck you be letting his white ass go, screamed Gabby Martine. Dat cracka muthafuka done boosted my ride. Under stress, Gabby lost her proper diction. She was under stress a lot lately, and more she was pelting all those around her with mutafukas. "There's 8 of us in this building, and only 4 of you," Lomax reminded Gabby with a scowl. Then he looked over and saw Danielle crying and hugging Johnny through the bars. "Oh, just beautiful," he sighed. "Juliet has come to say farewell to Romeo." Mona James reached out and grabbed Danny by the collar, pulling her away from the bars. "Step away from the prisoner. Sheriff, this woman may have given him a weapon or a communication device. They both need to be strip searched." "Great. Then I'd have Elwood Tolliver trying to bushwhack me as well as Ray Selkirk," growled Lomax. "Bullshit. There's going to be no strip searching. Go get whatever car you're going to use to take this man to Billings, come back, and then get him out of here." "I've already sent Colonel Hart to bring one of his armored SUVs," said Mona. "But I still say," Lomax grabbed Danny away from her, "you, young lady, come with me." He dragged her over to Roxy, the dispatcher's office, and threw her inside. "You and I need to have a little talk, Danny, and I'll be back here in a bit. In the meantime, you stay here and don't leave the building. I don't want to have to try and explain to your grandfather how you disappeared out of a police station." He closed the door and stalked away. However foolish and infuriating Danny's thoughtless behavior appeared to Lomax, it simply never occurred to him that she could be in league with the demons from across the road, much less spying for them. Not a Tolliver girl. It was unthinkable. Danny flipped open her burner phone and dialed. "Johnny's in one of the squad room cells," she whispered. "All right, honey," said Selkirk. "Can you get out of there? Say again?" "They didn't arrest you, did they?" "No," she told him. "Not yet, but Sheriff Lomax said he wanted to talk to me. He put me in this office and told me not to leave." Good. At least you'll be out of the way." "Is there a desk or something you can take cover behind?" asked Ray. "Yes, sir." "Okay, when you hear the ruckus start, you do that. We'll find you when it's over. Thank you, Danny." "Just get Johnny out of here safely," she said. Ray told Bobby and his team out in front what Danny had seen. "He's in the bullpen. Ready to move?" he asked. "That's an awful lot of hostiles, and local men at that," mused Bobby. "We could use a diversion to try and draw some of them away. Captain, you got those nephews of yours with the chunkers? Any vehicles in that back lot you can go pyrotechnic on?" "Sure," said Selkirk. "They're paddy wagon and 8 or 9 deputies' personal cars. We can blow up Ben Lomax's Plains Rover if you want." "No, try not to piss him off any more than he's going to be anyway," said Bobby. "Crack the paddy wagon. When they come out, don't open fire on them or try to pin them down. That will cause casualties. Come around the building to Washington Street and follow me in through the front. Look, give me 2 minutes, okay? I want to try something to see if we can't cut the bloodletting down a bit." "Okay, son, 2 minutes, then paddy wagon go boom," said Selkirk. "You sure you know what you're doing?" "It'll come to me," said Bobby. He dialed Ben Lomax's hotline phone, hoping the sheriff hadn't thrown the phone into the nearest dumpster or left it in his other uniform trousers. It rang, and Bobby was about to hang up when Lomax answered. "What?" The sheriff's voice was calm, presumably because there were others in earshot, but he didn't sound pleased. "You owe me a favor," said Bobby. "I do, but I know what you want, and it's out of my hands," said Lomax. "Yeah, it's in my hands now," said Bobby. "In about a minute you're going to hear a loud noise in the rear of your station. Go out back and investigate it. Take all of your deputies with you. All of them, got it?" "And if I don't?" asked Lomax. "Then we'll see how it plays out. If you feel your duty to your men and your community demands that you be involved in this, then good luck, and I mean that. I just figured I'd let you know. One white man to another. Thanks." Lomax hung up. Ray Selkirk's nephews apparently had itchy trigger fingers. It was only a few more seconds afterward that 2 armor-piercing rifle grenades slammed out of the darkness into the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department prisoner transport van, and it exploded into a ball of fire. "Okay, you men whom I designated as Gold Team, set up a perimeter around the Washington Street entrance, and don't let anybody except our own people in, which is anybody wearing a Civil Guard uniform or who is related to you. Go," ordered Bobby. The front door was locked, but the brawny Sergeant Boardman swung the hand ram and smashed it open, and the Northwest group ran past the empty reception desk and down a short corridor to the squad room where they stopped. Bobby pulled a stun grenade off his belt. "John?" he called out. 2 nigger women and 1 buzzcut booyah, shouted Johnny. The limey's not here. Shut the fuck up, Puerco, screamed Mona James somewhere out of sight around the door jamb. John, jelly roll coming in, called Bobby, knowing Selkirk would recognize the military term for a stun grenade and cover his ears. Got it, Johnny yelled back. Bobby threw the grenade and it detonated with a flash and a thunderclap. He and his team moved in. Boardman, get the rear doors! The sergeant ran forward to make sure the doors to the jail section were locked, so Lomax and his men couldn't re-enter the squad room that way. Bobby had his service automatic out. Agent Hornbuckle raised his head over a desk where he had taken cover and fired at him once, missing. Behind Bobby, the SS Sergeant Cullen Selkirk shot Hornbuckle through the head once with his X3 rifle. Mona James threw down her pistol and fled screaming down a short corridor which turned out to be a dead end. At least a dozen bullets splattered red goo over the locked door before she flopped down into a heap. Bobby found Gabby Martine hiding under a desk. He dragged her out by her hair, screaming fucks and mutafukas, and he shot her twice between her bouncing black memories at point-blank range. She gurgled and flopped and rolled over a desk onto the floor. Cullen Selkirk said never shot a nigger before, and eased his rifle barrel over to put a coup de grace between Gabby's gasping spoon lips. No, wait, said Bobby. I don't want her face messed up. He pulled his own large Bowie knife from the sheath on his belt, grabbed the gooey lacquered negroid hair which was now dripping with blood, and with a few swift, forceful strokes he severed the negress's head, causing a gush of blood to go cascading out onto the floor from the decapitated carcass. Watch your feet, guys, Bobby called out in warning. He glanced around and saw that the wastepaper baskets at each desk had black plastic bags inserted in them. He grabbed several of them and double-bagged the head, tying them shut. He looked up. Ray Selkirk was coming in the door. Captain Selkirk, find the keys and get your grandson out of here. No keys. It's an electronic lock. There's a button under that desk there, said Johnny, pointing. You're not going to stuff that and mount it, are you, Lieutenant? That's weird, even for one of us. No, I have another use for it, said Bobby. What's in the bag? Asked Old Man Ray. You a collector? Asked Ray. I knew some volunteers back in the day who collected nigger ears and whatnot. Never whole heads, though. No, I'm not going to keep it, said Bobby. This she-boon came to our house over there, and it still pisses me off, even if I did let her go for political reasons. I think I see a way to rectify that error. Where are Lomax and his guys? Out back watching their paddy wagon burn, and moving their cars out of the lot so they don't get damaged if anything else blows, said Ray. They'll take their time, but we need to go. Don't want to embarrass the man too badly. We need to find Danny, said Johnny, opening the door to the office. The girl ran out and embraced him. Are you all right? He asked. Are you? She demanded. Fine. Miss Tolliver, said the old man, stepping forward. I'm Raymond Selkirk, John's grandfather. If you were serious about returning to the Republic with us, we need to go now. We're not quite out of the woods yet.
You better come with us, Danny, said John, his arm around her. If your grandfather finds out you helped us, he's going to kill you. Maybe for real. How do you know I helped you? Asked Danny.
It was you who called Pop, wasn't it? Said John. Who told you? Exclaimed Danny. Nobody told me, said Johnny. Who else would it be? You should come with us, Miss Tolliver, said Ray. I know your grandfather. When he finds out you have not only betrayed your country, as he insists on viewing it, but you did so for a member of my family and by contacting me, it's probably not a good idea for you to be within his reach at that moment. I know, said Danny sadly. Where would I live? We've got a good government guest house outside Basin, said Bobby. My own family stays there when they visit. Horse hockey, said Ray. This family is in your debt, ma'am. You'll stay with us out at our place, as an honored guest, where we can keep an eye on you for you in case there are any repercussions, from this side of the road, and where John's mother can keep an eye on both of you. Johnny's eyebrows lifted and his eyes widened. Bobby got the impression that he would almost have preferred the custody of the FBI. We'll show you the ropes over there on our side. If you want to set up on your own for a while, we'll help you with that. If you and John decide you want to join our family, then we'll do that as well. But right now we need to get the hell out of here, before Ben Lomax remembers he's a sheriff. On their way out of town, the Northwest convoy passed new model Army Colonel Malcolm Hart, driving toward the jail with the armored vehicle he had been sent to collect to take the prisoner John Selkirk to Billings. Hart didn't recognize any of the faces in the vehicles that passed him in the autumn night, until he got a brief glimpse of Danny Tolliver, and he knew that something had happened. 5 minutes later, he was standing over the mound of bloody rags that was Mona James's corpse. "You did nothing at all," he demanded of Ben Lomax, his voice calm but of freezing Arctic coldness. "There's a word for men like that, Sheriff. Men who stand aside and let women be murdered. They are called cowards. It's a pity you don't follow the Republic's practice of dueling on this side of the road, one of the few of their customs I could stomach." "Listen to me," said Lomax, furious with Hart not just because of his words but because he wasn't sure there was no truth in them. "I have told you before, but now you need to get it even more. We don't want America here. We never did, and I'm not just talking about the past few months. Truth be told, we didn't want you here 45 years ago when Coeur d'Alene went up, and a long time before that. It's just that some of us decided to act on those feelings back then and some didn't. You say you were coming here to bring us all these new jobs and money and new opportunities to have better lives here and keep our kids from running off to the ring burbs when they left school, and that's fine, but you did it in a way which was deliberately calculated to spit right in the face of these people whom we have to live side by side with, without chopping each other to pieces, which is what's happened in the past. You didn't come here to bring us a damned thing. You came here to start a fight. Why, I don't know, but you did, and you can't complain now when you got what you came for. A fight you lost, which I could have told you is usually the way it goes. I'm sorry about your friends and about Agent James. I know you were knocking boots together, but what you see here is what happens when you fuck with the Northmen, and you fucked with the Northmen. I think you should get back in your car and light out for Billings. I'd say your mission here is over." "Not quite," said Hart angrily. He walked outside and flipped open his phone, and he dialed a number in the fortified green zone of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, now a major refuge for white people fleeing from Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and the Badlands of New Jersey. "Yes? May I speak to Captain Jones, please? Colonel Malcolm Hart." He waited a bit. "Trevor? Malcolm here. I was wondering if you could get a few of the lads together and come out to Montana for a day or two. No, this is a purely personal matter. Some very unpleasant chaps have killed someone whom I was quite fond of, and I would like to return the favor. I'll tell you when you get here. Let's say that a certain nation is about to